Have you ever made a deal that seemed too good to be true? Well, listen to this story about a peasant who learned that the best deals sometimes come from the most unexpected places. Once there was a peasant who wanted to sell his pig, but he just couldn't find a buyer. A stranger on the road jokingly told him, "Go to the devil's place, he'll take it off your hands." So the peasant did just that. When he arrived, a man was chopping wood. The peasant asked if they were buying pigs. The man said, "I'll go ask, but you have to chop wood for me while I'm gone." The peasant agreed and started chopping. He chopped and chopped all day, but the man never returned. Finally, someone else came by, and the peasant asked him to take over, since he couldn't just drop the axe. With his hands free, the peasant went inside himself. Instantly, a huge crowd gathered, all wanting to buy his pig. A bidding war started. Just then, a well-dressed gentleman pulled him aside and whispered an offer he couldn't refuse. At the gentleman's house, the peasant traded his pig for a truly magical rooster. Whenever he said the magic words, this rooster would lay pure silver coins. The peasant was overjoyed and headed home. On his way, he stopped at a tavern run by an old woman. He couldn't help but brag about his amazing rooster and even showed her how it worked. Big mistake. That night, while he slept, the old woman swapped his magic rooster for a regular one. The next morning, the peasant eagerly commanded, "Lay silver coins, my rooster." But all he got was a loud kikeriki. Furious, he marched all the way back to the gentleman's place and complained about the useless rooster. The gentleman was very understanding and gave him a new gift, a magic hand mill. Just by saying "mill grind," it would grind any kind of meal he wanted and wouldn't stop until he said "mill, stop grinding." The peasant was thrilled, and on his way home, he ended up at the same tavern. Again, he couldn't keep his good fortune a secret and showed the old woman the incredible mill. And again, while he slept, she stole it, leaving a normal, useless mill in its place. The next morning, no matter what he said, the mill wouldn't grind a single grain. Back he went for a third time to complain. The kind gentleman listened patiently. "Don't worry," he said, and this time he gave the peasant a large hornet's nest. These weren't ordinary hornets. They would fly out and sting anyone he commanded until he told them to stop. This time, when the peasant arrived at the tavern, he had a plan. He told the old woman he had a swarm of hornets that obeyed his every command. "Goodness me," she cried, "I have to see that." "You certainly can," the peasant said with a grin. "Out, my hornets, and sting the old woman." Instantly, the swarm attacked, and the woman began to scream and beg for mercy. She confessed everything and promised to return the magic rooster and the mill if he would just call off the hornets. The peasant agreed. He got his rooster and his mill back and went home with all three of his magical treasures. He became a very rich man and lived happily ever after. And he always said they have a great market at the Devil's Place, full of decent people and especially one very generous gentleman who's a pleasure to do business with. What a story, right? It just goes to show you should never judge a book by its cover. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing tales.